Welcome to We and Lewis, a show dedicated to celebrating the remarkable, creative, and energetic people who live in Lewis and are helping our community forge a collective soul as appealing as it is unique. They are the We and Lewis. I'm still Kevin McGinnis. Today, we will be continuing our interview with Dave Shook, better known throughout his career, his life, and here in Lewis as Shook. So when I use that name, I'm not trying to be rude. It's simply how he's asked me to refer to him. A D1 tennis coach, a legendary probation officer in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, and a former member of the faculty at DeSales University. Part 1 focused on his 25 years as a tennis coach. Parts 2 will go back in time as we talk about his childhood and the formidable career that inexplicably led to coaching D1 tennis. Part 2 is also brought to you by our friends at Coastal Lawn and Landscaping. John Gordon and his team are true professionals with the knowledge and experience necessary to handle any property need you may have. Just ask any of their over 400 clients. You can find them at www.coastallandscapingde.com. And now, here's part 2 of the Shook episode. Now, you didn't follow the normal route to being a D1 tennis coach.
No, that's one of the reasons I do so much volunteer work. I'm blessed with how my life has gone. Growing up, my family, like my older brother, he was 2 years older than me. We were in the same grade. And so that ought to tell you something. And, there's two kinds of people in the world, the caught and the uncaught. And as a criminal justice professor for 9 years, I always tried to tell everybody that, because I said, you did just like everybody else does. You broke rules, okay? But see, you didn't get caught. But some people just get caught. And those people end up in a different path. And I just consider myself blessed that I never, because I was the same as all my other two brothers, yet I don't know, for some reason everything worked out and I got a chance and I used it. And now I try to convince the kids that, be careful, who you laugh at. Like maybe the kids I graduated 501 out of 603 in my high school class. And I'm quite certain no one would have ever thought that I'd end up with a master's degree for Lehigh or that I would even make it at all. So for me, I just want to make sure that I pay back for that and that, I can instill that in others, that you shouldn't look at somebody and say, oh, they're dumb, or, they're going to end up in trouble, or they're low life or whatever, because that person might end up your coach, your teacher, your mentor, just like I did. So, make sure you watch what you say.
Your academic record in high school, or leading up to high school, was not stellar. Is that right?
No, it was all F's and D's. Honestly, except for I would, like English 1, FFF, and at the end they put a P. English 2, FFF, put a P. English 3, FFF, put a P at the end. So that and any math course was the same way. So I had a lot of F's and a lot of P's. And it was funny because I carry my high school transcripts to remind me that, don't blow this, and I'll tell you over and over, the late show's the great show. It ain't how you start, it's how you finish. And that's what I just keep telling myself. So my wife's looking at my transcripts and she goes, you got an A. I go, no, I didn't. And she goes, yeah, you got an A in 10th grade. And I looked at it. Guess what? Public speaking. So that's sort of, sums it all up. But, I was lucky, very lucky. And here I am today.
Was education emphasized at home?
Not really. I think I'm the only person in my family that graduated high school. My dad, of course, went into the Navy during World War II. So, in fact, he got his GED in 1969 when I was a senior in high school. And we had the biggest party at our house because my dad got a GED and graduated high school, and all the family was there and everything. And he did so because he was a firefighter in Easton, Pennsylvania. And to be promoted to lieutenant, you had to have a high school education or a degree, and he didn't have one. So he took his GED. And I remember how hard that man studied and worked at it, because he worked 3 jobs his whole life. And so we didn't see him we didn't have all the fun family activities, vacations really once a year, maybe. And but my old man, he worked hard. He ended up captain of the fire department in Easton, Pennsylvania. So, very proud of him for doing that. So,
when did the light go on for you? I mean, you're getting these Fs. You're still moving. They're moving you through the system, but you're getting Fs. At some point, the light went on.
The end of my junior year in high school, some guy stopped me in the hallway. His name was Gene Yanni, and he was one of the football coaches. And he said to me, he goes, "Why aren't you on the football team?" And I didn't have an answer. I don't know. Never came up, trying out for a sport. Jesus, I was a juvenile delinquent. I never really came up. So he says, "You come out for the football team." So I was real nervous about it, but I did. I went out for the football team. And Pennsylvania has some great high school football. And we were number 1 in the state of Pennsylvania. They didn't have state champions then, but we were ranked number 1 with Kiski area and Neshaminy. We played, there's all big schools. So being sort of like a state champion, we got a lot of attention. And I ended up getting full scholarship offers for football. And yet I was too dumb to go to college, really. So I took the SATs and scored an 810, which was unbelievable considering I never passed anything. So I just packed my bags and I left, and I blew that, of course. I partied my way out of that because I wasn't ready for that. And then I got caught up in the draft, and I got lucky because I got into the Coast Guard. So that was 1969, 1970. So it was... I was very lucky again because all my friends were coming back. The ones that came back from Vietnam were a mess. And so I was just blessed to be able to get in the Coast Guard. So it cost me 4 years, but I got the GI Bill and I came out and I married a good woman in 1972. And we weren't even old enough to drink at our wedding. And I was married 36 years, and she did a great job of grooming me, basically, like trying to get me to mature. And my Jeannie, my wife, is still working on that. But I don't know if they'll ever get anywhere. But
no, you met your first wife passed away.
Yes,
and then you've met Jeannie subsequently.
Yeah, we met. She was with the Shakespeare Theater at DeSales University, and while I was teaching there as an adjunct professor, and both of our friends were encouraging us. I was in a very dark spot, and she was also. We met through Match.com, and we had one date, and we've been together since that night. So,
wow.
Yeah, we were pretty lucky. And I have a daughter a Korean daughter who we adopted from Korea, Alexandra. She's an amazing kid. She's so independent. It's like I have to make appointments to talk to her and everything. So she, life, like I said, again, I'm so blessed with all this.
So when you were jumping back, when you were in the Coast Guard, you had, I think, 3 different types of service. And the last one, I think, was the sort of most exciting for you.
Yes, being stationed at Atlantic City Coast Guard Station, that was a search and rescue station. And we had so much fun there. I mean, this is back in the day. We were in the Department of Transportation, not like that. Right now, they're a hell of a lot more serious than we were then in 1970. This was 73. So there was no real threats or anything at the time. So we used to have, a great time at the base, lots of stories. But, like I said, it was wonderful. It was a great experience.
But this job, you did more, it was a little bit more risky. You were heading out into the middle of the ocean to rescue people, right?
Well, yeah. depends on what you consider risky. I mean, we used to water ski on the way out. So, and, we'd always have beer. So
you would always have beer?
Yeah, just about. Because back in the day, when you ran out of gas, the Coast Guard had to come for you. And they've since smartened up. There's no way they're coming for you. That's why you have Boat US or whatever. They come out and get you. But at the time, so if we got a call that some fisherman ran out of gas or something, I'd get a call and I'd go shoot down to the base with a case of beer. And I had the guys trained to where I could sit on the side of the dock with my water skis on, and they'd make this is with a 44-foot boat. They'd make a big fast circle and they yank me off the dock, and I'd hit splash the water ski out, and then I had them trained to do a turn so I can just sit back on and get right in, never touch the water. I mean, it was good times, much different than now,
It sounds like what was it, McHale's Navy more than
yeah. Oh boy,
more than platoon, if you will.
Yeah, yes, for sure. And again, I was blessed with this experience.
You did your 4 years with the Coast Guard, then you get out. Now, did you go to school?
Yes, I did. I wanted to. I ended up in the criminal justice program at Alvernia University. For some reason, I just gravitated to criminal justice. Maybe it was easiest. I don't know, but I enjoyed it, and because. To me, I'm immature, so adventure is really important to me as far as careers go, and that was so much better, being out in the streets and doing that. So I got a degree in criminal justice, and when I graduated, the first job opportunity I had was as a bail bondsman. So I took this bail bondsman job, and it was for an agency who people put their houses up, because it's really not fair. When a poor person gets arrested, they can't make bail. They have to stay there till their trial or whatever. And if they're found innocent, oops, sorry, or whatever, they don't get the option of getting bail, which is a flaw in the system. So these people put their houses up. So we would interview the prisoners, and we'd try to make a recommendation. This person got good community ties. They're not going to run. And so, but then my job was to go find the ones that did run, because the people's houses were up. And I did some work for some other bail bonds agencies for the money. They pay cash, just finding people. But it just turned out I was good at finding people because I knew where I would hide.
So bail bondsmen, there's sort of I don't know if it's deserved, but there's a bit of a reputation. And I think because you see companies with names like Fast Eddies or Bad Boys or Uncuff.
Yeah.
Did you work? I mean, was it as sort of something worthy more of a movie than a serious professional operation?
I did a little work for those kind of people, but not as much. I worked full-time for the Lehigh Valley Bail Fund, and they were a bunch of do-gooding people who really wanted to help and make a difference in the community, and I sort of gravitated towards that. But, the Dog the Bounty Hunter and all the, I'd like to think a little more cerebral than that level.
Does watching a show like Dog the Bounty Hunter infuriate you?
No, I have to laugh because, it's all sort of staged. And in reality, when you're looking for somebody, you're staking out in the dark in really bad places of town. And other people see you in your car. So you're always exposed in some way to these externalities of life where people don't want to see or go, but you end up there, of course. So.
How did you get from bail bonds to being a probation officer?
Well, I had some bad experiences as a bail bondsman. It was really hard to, back in the day, we used those Polaroid pictures, black and white Polaroid pictures. They used to use that stick on, and but they would fade. So on one of the last occasions, I was using a 3-year-old faded picture of a fugitive, and I had been looking for him for a long time, for a year. That's as long as I was there, and I thought I had him. So I was on downtown Allentown on Hamilton Street, and I've been following him. So I take a chance. I go up and I jack him up against the storefront window, and I'm holding a picture next to him, and I'm accusing him of being this fugitive, and he's screaming, "No, it's not me. No, it's not me." Next, so the shop owner calls because somebody's beating up a guy out front, and these cops come screaming in their cars. I'm laying flat out on the sidewalk, spread eagle, and the guy's yelling, "It's not me. It's not me." They take out his ID. Sure enough, he look at the license. It's not him. And I was like, "Oh, okay. I had enough of this. This is just too much." And then all of a sudden, a sergeant shows up on the scene, and he knew the guy. He'd arrested him many times as a youth. And he goes, "That's you. This is false ID." So they cuff him and they take him in. And I stood up and I go, "Thank God that sergeant showed up. Otherwise, the guy would have got away again." And I don't know if I would have gotten in trouble. They don't seem to. I mean, you're entitled to do these mistakes, I guess, as a bail bondsman. But that's when I knew it was time to get out. So I took a badge and a gun instead.
So you were, as a bail bondsman, you're doing all this without
nothing.
Nothing.
There's no real authority at all. And you can do anything you want from state to state. There's literally no rules, because when they signed a bail bond that they're going to report and they don't, they basically give up their rights, and you can go find them and bring them in. So then you went over to the probation office. Yes. Yeah. My first 10 years, I was a drug and alcohol specialist. I ran a halfway house 20 years. I wrote the highway safety program. I won the Bronze Key Award from the National Council on Alcoholism. I was president of the Alcohol Council of the Lehigh Valley. I was very involved in it. And then I switched my and then I sort of had some issues as far as my boss thought I was burning out. So, because I was having fun out on the streets. I mean, it was really kind of cool to be out on the streets, and it was fun. But so they decided I should be head of the community service program for 2 years. But then prison overcrowding happened. And once prison overcrowding happened, they couldn't keep all these people in jail. So they had to let some bad people out of jail. So then they decided we want to have an intensive supervision program. So this person would have only 50 cases instead of 250. So my specialty was sex crimes, child abuse, rape, stalkers, all those kind of people, the highest risk, the 50 highest risk. So all of a sudden, there was no pretense at all about rehabilitation, just safety of the community. So my job was to just, anything they did, get them back in jail. So that was kind of fun. I mean.
So you really like being on the streets. You like doing the searching, the looking, the hunting, if you will.
Well, I mean, it's better than sitting in a cubicle.
But weren't you sort of supposed to be sitting in a cubicle?
Well, yeah, some people do that. That's never been my approach, but, it is kind of rewarding when, like, if somebody's being stalked. I like stalkers the most. They were the most fun. A stalker would be terrorizing somebody, and it's really not fair for a woman to be looking out the window and seeing somebody outside, and seeing them all the time. And it's terrifying, and no one should go through that. So I used to stalk the stalker, so I'd be following them as they were following the person, and then I'd catch them and put them back in jail. And the people would be so grateful because they could breathe, and they would still be looking over their shoulder for the longest time, but at least I was able to do something productive, so I felt good about that.
At times, did you find yourself having to go recapture the same person?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're slow learners, but I always saw it as job security. It's inability to transcend your cultural heritage. So, like when you go to the lobby of the parole office and you walk in, there's your client, and there's the son who's also on juvenile probation, and or little kids, and you just know that they don't stand a chance. So you try to do the best you can to hope that the next generation breaks free of that whole thing and becomes a productive member of society and has a decent life and doesn't have to have the same thing that their old man or old lady had, sitting in my office.
Did your approach to your job, did it run a little contrary to sort of the normal bureaucratic approach to the position?
Well, yeah, my boss, like I've gotten written up a few times, docked a day's pay here and there. Philosophically, we didn't. My re-enlistment interview for the Coast Guard, I have it under glass in my bar, and it says there, the guy who interviewed me says, Mr. Shook's ideas are more important to him than those of his supervisors. And that's been my whole life. And it's still that way now. So it's just natural. And I would never want to supervise me. Basically, they used to sort of take turns and rotate. Even at Lehigh, the athletic directors say, like, all right, you're in charge of him now. So I just always got away with it. And if they wouldn't let me get away with it, I probably would have matured, probably would have made more advances in life or whatever. But
you wouldn't have been you.
Guess not.
After the prison overcrowding issue came up, they created this special program to target the most serious people, the most serious fugitives. Were you put in charge of that?
Yeah, I was the intensive supervision officer, and so when an individual got convicted of a sex crime, I would interview the victim, which is the hardest part, and interview the defendant, and then I'd prepare a summary for the court as to whether or not we think we can work with that individual, if they could benefit from the structure and accountability of community supervision, or if they should just stay in jail. So you're only allowed to keep them in jail for so long, and then they're entitled to get out. So when they got out, I would supervise them because I know them the best. I know all about them. I'd investigated them. So they were all familiar to me when they got out of prison. So I would always try to make it clear to them every single time that, listen, this is like Burger King. I gave that Burger King speech thousands of times, and it would just be, this is like Burger King. Have it your way. This could be easy if you stay out of trouble. You pass your urine tests, you pay your money. I'll let you off 6 months early. Would you like that? And I said, so that's your option. I said, but if you screw up and I have to come for you with the cuffs, do not look at me as the reason you're going to jail, because that's what they do. They sort of blame you that I'm the one responsible for the gun. So I made it clear every single time I saw everybody, say, don't make me come for you, please. Try to make it, So when I came, I say, sorry. They'd stick their hands out most of the time, not all the time, but sometimes there was altercations, but usually they understood that it wasn't me, it was their fault.
Did you end up getting a reputation within that community?
Oh, yeah. And it was, I enjoyed that reputation because I wasn't known as somebody that would just screw you over or somebody that was dishonest or anything like that. I used to have people call me and give me information because they wanted their community to be safe also. And plus I was from Easton, and being marginal person myself, I knew a lot of people, and they do appreciate if you treat them fair. So treating, like you asked about players, I treat them all the same. I treated all my clients the same. So they all felt as if, it wasn't me. I was just doing my job, and I was there for them if they wanted help, but I was there for them if they screwed up to protect the community. So it was their choice.
were you, when you would arrest someone, you would then have to appear before a judge or a magistrate, right?
Oh, yeah. Every Friday, you have to go and justify why you put somebody in jail. It's sort of a rule that they have.
And did you get accused of various things?
Oh, yeah. Everybody, every week, they try everything. And it was always a riot because there'd be the defense attorneys actually knew if I had evidence or not, because if I went in and I had on like a leather tie one of the prisoners made me, and just dressed, like I just came off the street or something, they'd know that I had evidence. But if I came in and I had a suit on, or if I had a vest on, they'd be like, "Oh, he's going to be lying," and maybe that's but on occasion there's always a line of people in orange jumpsuits waiting to get out of jail. They've served their time. They're going to have a hearing. They're going to get out, and they're impatient. They want to get out. They want to get out. And so there's a long line of people going up before the judge while they're taking their turns. And on occasion, somebody will get up there and say, "Oh, he's a racist, Your Honor. He's this and that and this." And one of the people that's waiting is impatient. His own kid ain't even white, for God's sakes. And so let's move on, And that's the day I realized I should take my daughter's picture down in my office, because they obviously knew that from that. So, every once in a while, hookers would be like, he's demanding freebies or whatever, and some other hooker will stand up and say, no, if he doesn't want that one, if he don't want me, he's not touching her. That's not how they would say it, but basically that's that's the kind of reputation you want.
And then you got to, I assume, a reputation with counsel. You got a reputation with a judge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the judges appreciated what I did. Whenever they didn't like somebody, they'd say, "I'm putting you on with Shook." So they call for me. I'd have to go in. They go, "I want you to supervise this person," blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it was just stupid things that the judge would just get mad about. Like they walked out on a check on Valentine's Day or something like that. And they say, and they put on, I go, but they protected me. When you get in court and the defense attorney's like, they're asking you, because there's two kinds of law, substantive and procedural. Procedural law is what they all practice, 90% of them more. And when you get a parking ticket, you look and see, is that my license number? Is that the right day? Is that the right car? So you try to look for any T's and I's that aren't crossed or dotted. And so when they get to court, they go, "Now you put him in jail." I used to put people in jail for missing an appointment because it was an opportunity to get them back inside. So they say, when was that? And I go, "Tuesday?" And they go, "Well, what was the date?" I go, "Oh, I know." And I'd be humming and hawing, and they'd be making a big deal out of, "Your Honor, he doesn't even know." And the judge would just stick a hand up and say, "Listen, it was Tuesday. He just answered that." So, and so I had they understood what the job I was doing, and they had faith in me that I would not abuse that trust. So.
Did yours, when you were in the special position, did you work with other agencies? Did that create a task force?
Oh, yeah. I was on quite a few task force. We would, once a month, we used to get together. It would be like the FBI, the state police, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, sheriffs, 20, 30 people, maybe a SWAT team. And we'd all get together and around 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And you get a chance to go up in front of the group and say, "Here's my warrant. I think we should go get my guy." And so everybody goes through and tries to convince the crowd, who should we go get? Who do we like the least? And so on one occasion, I had a guy that used to swim, like to swim nude with little boys. So I was trying to find him because he missed an appointment, and I was looking to get him back in jail. So I kept going to his house, and I tear the place apart, and I couldn't find the guy. And I mean, we're talking 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and I still couldn't find the guy. So I held up his case, and I told them, they go, "We're going for him." So now we got SWAT team, we got dogs, oh my God. So we get there, it was 11 or something, and they just bust right down the front door, and we go in, can't find the guy. Again, turned out The dogs found him because he had a waterbed and he had a frame around it, but in the middle he had sort of a casket cut out. So he would crawl underneath the mattress and get into this box because it has a box around it so you can't see under the bed. So it's assumed that nobody's under the bed, but he built this box underneath. So he used to hide under the mattress, and those guys found him. So I was really stoked about that. So
you're out on the streets. You're hunting and searching for people. You're bringing in all sorts of individuals into court. You're carrying a gun. How does this lead to coaching tennis?
Again, I'm very blessed. I mean, I never played tennis. I taught myself how to play by hitting against the wall. I got obsessed with it. It was an outlet for me that I really appreciated and needed. And so I spent many, many hours practicing and hitting. And then I taught myself how to play. I started playing tennis tournaments. And next thing you know, I got a job offer as a high school boys coach, then a high school girls coach.
Were you still working as a probation officer?
Yes. Yeah, I was. I actually, my boss told me, when I went to him and I told him, look, I'd like to leave work at 2:30 every day to coach the high school. I said, I could have some impact on those kids. I mean, tennis kids, they don't get in trouble. But he bought that. And he said, he says, Shook, I'll tell you, I'll make you a deal. This is the God's honest truth. I'll make you a deal. If you never speak again at a staff meeting, I'll let you take the job. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But I said, okay. And I did. So the guy who I used to cause so many problems, like they'd have these things. I go, no, you can't do that. Or, we shouldn't do that or whatever. I never said another word, and off went my coaching career. And then I got an opportunity for Lehigh University, and which was unbelievable. So I took that job. We had 9 tennis courts, no bathrooms, no water, nothing. We used to pee in the bushes, the guys and the girls, or men and women rather. So the program started to grow, and I got my master's degree for free. My daughter went to Lehigh for free. So I'm just so blessed that this all worked out. I ended up with a $4 million tennis facility at Lehigh, and it's just unbelievable the turn my life took, and how grateful I am for the opportunity. And so when I came down here, Lori Carter called me and said, would you be the coach of girls at the high school? I said, no. And she says, listen, I said, I'll be the assistant coach. So she took the head coach job, and I took the assistant coach job, which I'm really glad I did. So I did 25 years of college coaching and 15 years of high school coaching. So 40 years. This year I told them I'm retired.
Wait a minute. You had said earlier, I have you at 27 and you correct me down to 26. And you just said you did 25. You're killing me on this time.
26. It becomes blurry. Yeah. Okay. It's a little blurry.
Shook, we don't care. Just choose a damn number, will you?
Right. Okay, let's settle on 26.
Okay,
26 and then 15 in high school. I did 8 at Cape High School, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the kids. It's certainly a different environment than college.
Are the problems you're dealing with those kids, I mean, pretty dramatically different from your other experiences in life?
Yes. Yeah, they... the kids don't actually play tennis all year. They're not primary tennis players. They just come out for tennis. And you try to just have an impact on them that'll last for the rest of your life.
Why did you come to Lewis?
I love surf fishing, and I love the water, and my wife, Jeannie's a beach bum. So it really, really worked out. We came down, we were looking around, we bounced around Fenwick and all the places that I used to come surf fishing at. And somebody said, go check out Lewis. So we went to Lewis, and I stayed at the Beacon. And our first weekend here, so I said to the wife, okay, let's go downtown and eat. So we get in the car and we start driving downtown, and all of a sudden I could see it was only like 100 yards to downtown, and I didn't even know that. So we drove downtown. I go, we're here. I guess we could have just walked. And so we fell in love with the town, and we were looking for a place not just to live, but a place to be part of. And Lewis is the kind of place where you go to a bar and you meet people, and everybody's friendly, and you want to contribute to the town and make it a better place. And that's sort of why we're here, because it drew us in, and we just want to be part of this. So we love it. I was just here the other night, and we must have been here 3 hours, and we had so much fun. And I met a bunch of fishermen guys that just came in from a 2-day fishing trip, and they didn't smell the best, but boy, they had some great stories. And so I made some more new friends, and that's how I met, most of the people in bars and restaurants. And all you got to do is go out. Somebody will talk to you. So,
and you also were involved in some of the, it's not professional, but some of the competitive sailing in the area.
Yes, I sail on Legacy, Nick Carter's boat. We do the beer can races on Wednesdays and Sundays, but I like the distance races, so that's what I usually do. Last year, I flew to Bermuda to bring Nick's boat back. That was 640 miles. That's 5 days, and it was a miserable trip. Big waves, heavy wind. So 5 days, 4 hours on, 4
on a
hours
trip that
off.
size, you're out of range, right?
Oh yeah, you're a good 200 miles out of rescue range most of the time. So you rely on there was 5 of us, and I rely on these guys when I go down below to take off my wet clothes and try to get some rest or try to eat something. You really can't sleep or eat. It's difficult. You rely on them. So it's a really great atmosphere. Besides Nick Carter and Tony Graziano and Xavier Waters, these guys are money. And I feel so good knowing that they have my 6 and I don't have to worry. So, but, and
why do they call you Hollywood?
I got the name Hollywood because they say that I show up, for my watch. I just stroll in and, I'm 10 minutes late and, fashionably late. And, of course, when I flew to Bermuda, I had to bring all my own clothes with me. They had their wives bring their blazers and whatever for the thing. So I had a lot of nice clothes. So I was sailing in like $90 polo shirts, my best polo shirts and stuff. And they go, "You're awfully dressed up." So, there's just, it's sailors, when you're 5 days out there.
And you're hot bunking and you're only sleeping for 4 hours, right?
Yeah. If that's possible. Yeah. By the time you get down below and you get all the wet clothes off and try to eat something as the boat's heaving and shucking and jiving, and then you have to get up and get dressed, put everything on, and you have to clip yourself every 6 feet so you don't get washed over. So you have all this heavy equipment on. So you really only get about 3 hours down below, and sleeping and eating is, not the easiest thing, but I like it. One of the things that I like most about Lewis is the opportunity to give back. I'm involved with a lot of different volunteer activities, and I got to give a plug for the Code Purple organization and Mike Agnew. For the last 2 years, I'm the head of the laundry ministry at the St. Jude's, and what I do is every Tuesday I go to the homeless shelter. The homeless shelter is open from December 1st to March 15th, and we have 16 cots, and homeless men can come and stay. So once a week I'll go, and there'll be 60 some pieces, maybe 70, or usually about 80 or 90 pounds of laundry. So I'll pick up all the dirty, bloody laundry, that the guys from their bunks, because they keep them in bags and they use the same one all week, I'll take them to the laundry and I'll wash them, dry them, fold them, and take them back, because they deserve the dignity of at least having a clean bed to sleep in, just like we do. So, and they always need volunteers. So if anybody out there is interested in it, it really is a great opportunity to try to have a direct impact in our community. So,
one final question. Given the unconventional routes you've taken in your life, given all you've accomplished, what advice would you give today to a young person wondering what to do with his or her life?
I'd like to think that it always comes back to the late show's the great show. So if you have something, share it with somebody else who doesn't have as much. And the good feeling you get from helping someone put their stuff in the overhead compartment. Be aware of your surroundings, because we're surrounded by people who aren't as fortunate as us. And I would just ask the young people to look up and look around. Say hi to the people that you pass in the street, and be aware of your surroundings and how you can help somebody and make a difference in somebody's life, because not everybody has it as good as you do. So, let's try to, make it a better place to live. That's why I like Lewis. Everybody here is pretty like-minded. So moving here was a great move for us, because it's a great chance to give back and meet great people. So I love it here.
When they make the movie of Lewis, who's going to play you?
You're talking to a guy who learned everything he knows about being a man from Dave Chappelle and Peter Griffin on Family Man. I was labeled incorrigible, and that basically means failure to learn from past experiences. So for me, I just try to do the right thing, as you say. So I just follow my heart, and and I've gotten away with it. So I guess Denzel Washington.
Dave, thank you. Thanks for joining us today, for sharing all that you've accomplished in your life, all that you've done, and explaining how someone can start as a probation officer and end up being one of the winningest coaches in D1 tennis history.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and everyone that's involved in the podcast, because I think it's important. It was inspiring to me to watch some of the other podcasts, because this is the kind of place where you can be part of the community. You just don't live here. So I really appreciate that. So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And thanks to our sponsor, Coastal Lawn and Landscaping. Right now, they have a team standing by waiting for your call. Thanks for being a listener and supporting the podcast. For more information, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, or on our website, We in Lewis, where we soon hope to be posting some additional clips that unfortunately may fall onto the editing floor. And as always, please feel free to share your thoughts and comments, especially if they're good. Till next time, this has been We in Lewis, the podcast.